Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. We talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Roach Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. Arizona basketball just landed a much-needed transfer portal addition named former Alabama guard Jaden Bradley. I'm going to go over how important of an addition I think that this will be for the Arizona Wildcats and whether I think Arizona basketball can contend for a Pac-12 title next season. Now, Jaden Bradley, there are a lot of interesting storylines around him. He was a former McDonald's All-American 5-star recruit, and he decided to commit to Nate Oates out of high school, and he had a little bit of an underwhelming freshman year for the Alabama Crimson Tide. He only averaged 6.4 points per game, 2.6 rebounds, and 3.1 assists per game. He's a 6'3", 185-pound guard, so he has pretty good positional size for a 2 guard, but he only played 19 minutes a game, so if he does play longer for Arizona this next season, which he should, because Arizona, they are losing some guard depth, so they definitely need another guard on their roster. I think Jaden Bradley can slide right in and start. He'll probably average more points per game this next season. But Jaden Bradley, he was with a lot of guards on the Alabama roster, so there was a lot of players he was competing with for minutes. That kind of limited his ability to get a lot of minutes, but he still was solid when he played. He shot 39.2% from the field, 31.8% from the three-point line, and 69.5% from the free throw line. The free throw number needs to be a bit better for a guard, and the three-point percentage you would like to be higher as well. But overall, looking at Jaden Bradley, he still is a very talented player that if he showcases his talents at Arizona, he could be a guy that still goes to the NBA draft in 2024. Now, looking at Jaden Bradley, though, the storylines with him are more interesting off the court than on the court. In Arizona basketball, they are getting a really solid player that is still really talented and is only going into his sophomore year. But off the floor, Jaden Bradley did get in a little bit of trouble when he was at Alabama. Jaden Bradley and Brandon Miller were both involved with the tragic scene that happened with the Alabama Crimson Tide on campus. Rest in peace to the woman that passed away and everybody else that was involved in that situation. Prayers to everyone there. Still with the ongoing situation in that case. But Jaden Bradley and Brandon Miller, they did not get in trouble because they're not the ones that did the unfortunate deed that another teammate of theirs did, and he got charged. But unfortunately for Jaden Bradley, it still was a bad look overall. He probably wants to get away from Alabama as well, because I think he probably would have started for the Crimson Tide this next season, but he's wanting to get all of that behind him and move on to the Arizona Wildcats, start a fresh new season of college basketball, get all of that behind him. But Jaden Bradley, as long as nothing happens while he's at Arizona, I don't think the Wildcats will have anything to worry about, but it still was a tough situation that happened with him and Brandon Miller being involved with that situation back this past season at Alabama. But I think it should be fine overall. All of it's patched over. Again, it was a horrible situation, but Jaden Bradley, he did not do anything particularly wrong. He was just kind of near the situation. But Jaden Bradley, if he has no issues with that at Arizona this next season, then the Wildcats are still getting a really talented guard, and they shouldn't have anything to worry about. But there's more interesting storylines, because there might be some bad blood here between the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Arizona Wildcats, because they're going to be playing a neutral site game this year on December 20th, and you're going to have all of the Alabama fans and all of the Alabama players that are still going to be on the team that are going to have to be playing now against Jaden Bradley. That's a very interesting situation. How are they going to be able to handle that? Well, Nate Oates and the players and the fans all have a warm welcome. I'm sure the players and Nate Oates will, but looking at the fans are really interesting overall, and they're probably going to be upset that they're going to be playing against Jaden Bradley. Hopefully, everybody takes it with a grain of salt. No big deal. Everything's put behind him, and Jaden Bradley, hopefully he can just suit up for the Arizona Wildcats in that game and not have any issues. But still an interesting storyline nonetheless, that a player that is connected between these two programs, and they're going to be playing this coming year. Very interesting there. But I still think that Alabama basketball is in better shape than Arizona because of the fact that Nate Oates did a good job bringing in some players, and looking at Arizona, they do have some roster holes to fill, and getting Jaden Bradley is a huge addition. But you look at Kirk Creesa, their starting point guard entered the transfer portal. He's gone to West Virginia, and I know Colin Boswell is back. He was a 5-star recruit. He's a really talented player, and I feel like Colin Boswell will have a massive leap forward this season for Arizona. And Tommy Lloyd, who, by the way, has been doing a fantastic job for the Arizona Wildcats. The one thing Arizona has not had is they have not had NCAA tournament success the past few seasons. They've made the tournament, and then they lose early. They were upset this past season by the Princeton Tigers. They need to find a way to be able to go farther in the tournament this next season, and I feel like if Tommy Lloyd and Arizona can do that, that will make their fans a lot happier, because Arizona fans are happy with what Tommy Lloyd's done and what Sean Miller was able to do when he was the head coach, but they want more. They want NCAA tournament success and to go far. But if Colin Boswell makes a big jump, it could potentially potentially be an even better point guard than what Kirk Creasy was this past season. I don't even think for Colin Boswell it's about scoring the basketball at a high level. It's about passing the ball to your teammates and setting up your teammates even more than Kirk Creasy did this past season. He averaged around 3 assists per game. But Colin Boswell, he is a guard that can score. He is definitely a high upside guy that could be in the NBA draft as well, but I do think he's going to have to work on passing the ball to his teammates, specifically to guys like Jaden Bradley, and be able to get them some open looks. Because Courtney Ramey and Cedric Henderson, they are both gone. They both are out of eligibility. I think it's a big reason why Jaden Bradley's transferring to Arizona, because they got those guard spots available. But there are other big moves being made on the Arizona roster. Oumar Ballo, the center for Arizona this past season, he is back, and he is a guy that has been improving ever since he transferred in from Gonzaga to Arizona following Tommy Lloyd, and he's a guy that I think could even have a bigger leap next season, especially if Azuolas Tubelis does not return. He's testing the NBA draft waters, and most people don't think he will return. There's still a chance that he can, and if Azuolas Tubelis does return, it will make Arizona's front court a beast to deal with next season in the Pac-12, and would really give the Wildcats a great chance to win the league, because UCLA is having some roster turnover right now, but you know Mick Cronin's still going to have UCLA playing at a high level, and also you got USC lurking around Arizona State, some of these other teams, even Colorado's looking potentially dangerous for next season. But if you have Azuolas Tubelis and Oumar Ballo in the front court for Arizona, they'll still be a fantastic team. But if Azuolas Tubelis does not return, which again, there's a good chance that he does not, and he stays in the NBA draft, Oumar Ballo is going to have a massive step forward for Arizona if they want to have a lot of success. Pell Larson, he's testing the NBA draft waters as well, but he more than likely will return because he's not being projected nowhere near as high as Azuolas Tubelis. But we'll have to see. Maybe Arizona can get both players back. That would really help with the continuity, because then you could have Colin Boswell, Oumar Ballo, Azuolas Tubelis, and Pell Larson all back, and then just slide in Jaden Bradley to take the Courtney Ramey role in that two-guard spot, and that's always great to have continuity in college basketball these days with all the transfer portal players that are leaving to other programs and all the guys that are going to the NBA draft and all these other moves that are being made. You do not have a lot of roster continuity anymore, and Arizona could have that with 4 of the 5 players in their starting lineup and just have Jaden Bradley being inserted at that two-guard spot. But we're going to have to see what Azuolas Tubelis and Pell Larson do decide to do, but it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. And Arizona is also bringing in KJ Lewis, a 4-star recruit in the 2023 class, a 6'4" guard. He could be a guy that learns behind Jaden Bradley, or if he plays at a high level, he could even supplant Jaden Bradley in the starting lineup. Who knows, but more than likely he will be coming off the bench, so that will be a good depth piece next season for Tommy Lloyd. But I'm looking at Arizona's roster. A lot of it's going to hinge on Azuolas Tubelis and Pell Larson, but if they get both players back, Arizona could potentially be the front runner in the Pac-12 next season. But as is, even if Azuolas Tubelis is gone and Pell Larson does decide to return, I do think that Arizona's roster will be in good enough shape to potentially contend for a Pac-12 title, definitely make the NCAA tournament, and hopefully have more success in the NCAA tournament next season, because Arizona fans are getting antsy. But Jaden Bradley, as long as the off-the-court stuff, none of that stuff pops up while he's at Arizona, he's a good player, and he's definitely going to be a guy that I think can transfer right into Arizona, leave all that stuff behind him at Alabama, and try to be able to improve, finally be in the starting line, show his 5-star McDonald's All-American self at a high level in the Pac-12, and be able to be surrounded by some great athletes next to him on the Arizona roster. Tommy Lloyd's a great coach. I think he'll be able to shape him up and have him playing some great basketball next year, but it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. And I'm already looking forward to the next season in college basketball, and I feel like the Arizona Wildcats could have a great season next year, and if Jaden Bradley steps up and plays at an even higher level, transferring in from Alabama, I think the Wildcats will have a success next season in college basketball for sure. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below what you think about Jaden Bradley transferring from Alabama to Arizona, and whether you think Jaden Bradley can leave all the bad stuff behind at Alabama and have a lot of success for Arizona next year, and how good of a job you think Tommy Lloyd is doing as head coach of the Arizona Wildcats. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I will see you next time.